I catfished my high school teacher because he was bullying me. I'm a guy. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. First, some background. He knew my dad because my dad was a lawyer and had represented his ex-wife several years before in a super bitter divorce. For some reason, he took that frustration out on me. He would verbally abuse me in front of the class. If I raised my hand to answer a question, he would roll his eyes before calling on me and loudly say to the class, "Listen to what original poster says, that way you will know what the wrong answers are." He would criticize my work and make comments about how I'll never amount to much because obviously I have a learning disability. I don't. He was just being a jerk. I would often get marked down for penmanship, but after asking some classmates, apparently I was the only one being graded on that. I know history wasn't my best subject, but the way I was being treated was totally uncalled for. I began to have anxiety to go to that class. I would dread it all day. My friends would even mention casually, "Yeah, Mr. Smith really doesn't like original poster. What did you do to him, bro?" My dad was pissed that he was obviously being biased towards me for something that I had nothing to do with. My dad made noise and tried to get me moved into another class, but the district and school were over capacity as it was. I couldn't move classes without displacing another student, and the school didn't think that would be fair to the other student. But it's fair to me to let this keep going on because you can't move me, sure. Now, my dad never discussed details of his cases, but I had overheard him angrily telling my mom after our meeting with the principal that he doesn't like that I'm in that pervert's class. An idea was planted in my head, and it started to grow. I devised a plan. I gathered social media pics of a girl who was underage and went to another school, and made some profiles on Kik and WhatsApp using a Google Voice number from our city. I changed her name for obvious reasons. Once I had him hooked on the made-up 17-year-old girl, I sent all the chat logs and pics he sent to her, to the principal, and the school district main office using every email address I could find on the school district website and social media pages. Within 3 days of the emails being sent, we had a sub. All were told that Mr. Smith had to take some time off due to personal issues. I still don't know what happened to him after that. I graduated about 3 months after he was put on leave and never heard from or saw him again. I joined the military and left town about 6 months after all this happened and have not returned to that city since. One of my friends who still lives there told me a while back he saw him working the deli counter at a grocery store not far from the high school. I never told a single soul and nobody knows it was me. The rumor mill went around about him being a pervert, but nobody knew I had anything to do with it, even though I benefited the most from his departure. I imagine they tracked the girl down and asked her, but she obviously didn't know him. However, the chat logs from WhatsApp show the girl telling him she was 17 about 3 days before he sent the first of many pictures. So that was probably enough to at least get him fired and lose his teaching certification. I don't regret it, but I would never go so far on anyone again. I was a bitter, moody teen, but when you're being bullied by someone with authority over you, you have to do what you have to do to survive, regardless if you're being a jerk. No, I don't think you were being a jerk at all. It's very clear that the teacher was holding a grudge for something that our original poster had nothing to do with. And honestly, I don't think our poster went too far with their retaliation. It seems our poster's father knew something was going on with this guy, and our poster outing him like this could have saved a lot of other girls some potential trouble. He probably did everyone a favor, more so than he knows. Entitled Karen demands I lift her 30-pound bag of dog food despite the fact that I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm a vendor at many stores. I'll go in and put up a few signs or put some sticker on product, super easy work. Anyways, months back, I was about 8 months pregnant with my second daughter and I was working in a local grocery store putting up some signs. As I was in the pet aisle, I noticed this woman is glaring at me. I removed my headphones and she says, "I said I need that dog food." "Oh, sorry ma'am, I don't work for a store name."
"So, I need help. You need to put that in my cart."
She was getting increasingly angry. "No ma'am, I'm sure there's an employee nearby, but I don't work for store name."
"Well, who do you work for so I can complain?"
she says as she's staring at my name badge that's hanging in front of my huge pregnant stomach. I did notify the store manager and he apologized to me. I also called my manager in case she actually did try to complain to my company. I never heard anything else about it. Regardless of the fact if she works there or not, the woman is 8 months pregnant. You can't expect her to live a 30-pound bag of dog food. As she said, "I'm sure there's another employee nearby that'd be willing to help you." Are you really gonna stand there and harass the pregnant lady? Come on. I told my sister it's strange to call her boyfriend her husband if they're not married. I'm a 30-year-old female, and my sister, 39, has been with her boyfriend, 41, for 15 years. They have no intention of getting married. They just see it as a piece of paper. But I feel differently. For their anniversary, they got each other what essentially looked like engagement/wedding rings, and when they started to wear the rings, they made it seem like they had gone and eloped. They had an anniversary party with friends and family, and everyone was congratulating them. But on what? She came over yesterday, and I was honest with her and said, I think it's strange that they're willing to wear rings, even call each other husband and wife, but not get married. She told me they don't need a piece of paper to tell them they can call each other husband and wife. But I argued that they're literally doing everything a married couple would do. They're just not making it official, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I said, I feel like husband and wife labels are saved for married couples. She said that this shouldn't matter to me, it's just a label, and called me a judgmental jerk. We argued for 10 minutes before she left. My mom called me crying because my sister called her crying, and now both of them say they're disappointed in me and I'm being unsupportive of my sister's decision to not get married. The only thing is, I feel like I'm lying if I call him her husband or introduce him as her husband. But if I still only call him her boyfriend, my mom and my sister will both still be angry. And if I call him her partner, then they'll see me as avoiding the label husband. Am I the jerk here? So this is a bit of a weird one. I'm gonna say you're not wrong, but you are being a jerk. At the end of the day, it's their relationship. It's none of your business if they want to call themselves husband and wife. They have been together for 15 years. As far as I'm concerned, if you've been together that long and you have no intention of separating and are going to be spending the rest of your lives together, then you can call yourself husband and wife, especially if you don't believe in the idea of traditional marriage for whatever reason. It's them referring to themselves as life partners, and I feel like you're taking that away from them. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this one in the comments. My mom and aunt said some horrible stuff about my fiance, so I've uninvited them from the wedding. I, 25-year-old male, am extremely lucky to be marrying the woman of my dreams, Maya, 24-year-old female. I'm originally American, but moved to Norway when I was 19 to get a college education without paying an arm and a leg. I met Maya when I was 20, and we've been together ever since. We recently got engaged, and our wedding is planned for this fall. I wanted to tell my family in person about it, so we planned a trip to visit my hometown to announce it. This is the third time my parents, 55-year-old male and 52-year-old female, are meeting her in person, and the first time for my more distant relatives. We had a big dinner at my aunt's, 57-year-old female Deborah, which is where we announced it, and most of my family was ecstatic and congratulated us. My mom, Deborah, and one other aunt did not look that happy. I didn't really pay it much mind at first, but as the evening progressed, Maya told me she felt super uncomfortable with the glares that she was getting from the three of them. She's quite shy and not very confident in her English, so we talked in Norwegian between the two of us for the most part. Of course, when talking with my family, we spoke English, but I started to feel the chill from my mother's glares whenever the two of us were talking. I told Maya I'd be right back, and I talked with my dad about what the deal was. He just kinda shrugged and told me,
You know how your mom gets with women you're seeing. Don't worry about it. She's just upset to see that her son is putting roots down an ocean away.
He was wrong about not needing to worry. After dessert, my mom stood up and gave a toast.
Cheers to my son and his fiancée. She may not be the best woman for him, but I'm sure he'll realize that once he sees what a slut and gold digger she is. Or maybe she'll grow a conscience and save him from himself. Cheers!
Maya left the room crying, and there was a long silence, aside from my mom and aunt snickering, before I broke in and said, You realize that the choice for who the most important woman in my life is hasn't had you in the running for nearly a decade. I actually love her and would choose a kick to the nuts over you. The three of you aren't welcome at our wedding, and Maya and I will be staying at a hotel for the rest of our time here. And then I left as quickly as possible with Maya. I feel bad for putting Maya through that and don't want her to have to deal with anything like that on what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of our lives. But at the same time, I've been getting calls from my family about how unreasonable I'm being. That my mom was just drunk and worried about me, etc., etc. My sister, who is no contact with our mother, told me that I royally screwed up and probably burned most of the bridges with our family, or at least our mother's side. And a lot of my mother's side have said they won't come unless I reinvite my mom and aunts. My dad said he can't come unless my mom can go, and he truly wants to be there. I don't know what to do, and Maya said it's my choice, but she really doesn't want them there. Am I the jerk? As far as I'm concerned, no. You didn't make this decision, they did. By acting the way they acted towards your soon-to-be wife, they've made their decision in not wanting to be a part of your life. Those are some horrible things to say to someone's face. If that's really what you think, at least keep it to yourself. I honestly just find this behavior disgusting, and I think you're going to be better off without them in your life. Your sister's clearly already made the decision to cut her out for a reason. Maybe you just need to take that leap too. I refuse to give my blessing to my daughter's boyfriend. I'm 43 years old. My daughter is 21, and I've been a single mother for most of her life, with occasional visits from my ex-husband. I've always wanted my daughter to be independent and to do what's best for her. I was not raised with religion and am agnostic/atheist leaning. My daughter is in college, which I'm happy to pay for. She got a boyfriend 7 months ago whom I haven't met yet, but she spoke well of him. So she showed up at my door with her boyfriend, who was wearing a suit, and introduced himself. I invited them in and served coffee, except he didn't drink the coffee. Now I realized that this was an early sign. I tried to get him to talk so I could get to know him better. He immediately started talking about how much he loved my daughter and how much he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, and asked for my blessing. I thought this was strange. This boy just walked into my house and asked to marry my daughter. I hardly knew his last name, and I don't care about blessings, but they're too young. He started off saying that he would provide for her, that his family was a good, God-loving family, that they were well off, that she wouldn't have to study or work, and that I would benefit from joining them. He said that traditions were important to him, that their children would have a nice private education, that we could join their religious community, and that the wedding would be in a nice church in the middle of nowhere. First, I'm surprised that such a young boy could be so deeply religious. Sounds like my grandfather's crazy friends. Second, my daughter wouldn't study or work? No, I didn't raise my child to be a barefoot, cleaning, cooking, pregnant trophy wife. As much as I don't care about parental blessing, I have actively refused it and explained my reasons very well. I'm paying for her education and I'm not letting it go to waste. And I want my daughter to be her own person, not a doormat. The boyfriend was silent, stood up, thanked me, and left with my daughter. Later the next day, she called me crying and screaming. She said she had tried to get her father's blessing, but he had also refused. She accused me of conspiring against her happiness, and her boyfriend said he wouldn't marry into a family that doesn't know God, and that I was ruining her life. I don't know why she wants this kind of life, but her boyfriend looks and sounds sketchy AF. But I wonder if I should have left her alone. Am I the jerk? Did I ruin this for everyone? No, I don't think you're being the jerk at all. This sounds very sketchy to me as well. If I'm being given any say, absolutely no way I'm letting my daughter spend the rest of her life with this dude. Just from this short story, I get really creepy vibes from him right away. The fact that he just shows up in a suit and immediately asks to marry your daughter when you've barely even had a chance to get to know him just sets off red flags for me. It's like you're trying to get my approval before I find out something about you that I'm not gonna like. Trust me, you made the right decision. You're just looking out for your daughter. What she does from here is unfortunately entirely up to her. But I hope at the end of the day, everyone is just happy and safe. My stepson refuses to stop talking about his dad, so I had to tell him to cut it out. My wife and I got married last summer. I have a son, 14, and a daughter, 12, with my ex-wife, and my wife has a son, 7, with her ex-husband. We all moved in together in late 2021. My kids get along great with their stepbrother, and they adore my wife. I've had a trickier time bonding with my stepson. We have my kids every other week, and my stepson goes to his dad's every other weekend. My stepson is a massive daddy's boy. His dad takes him on some kind of adventure every weekend they're together. He's always talking about what he's going to do with his dad or what he and his dad did that weekend, which is annoying but fine. However, recently he keeps comparing me to his dad, saying things his dad would do differently or telling me his dad can do something so I should be able to too. Last weekend we went camping, which is something we've not really done before as a family. When it came to building a campfire, my stepson started complaining I was doing it wrong. I was following a YouTube tutorial and tried to interfere with what I was doing. He then said, "How are you a man but you don't even know how to make a fire?" before going on to talk about how his dad could light a fire with a stick. I was already stressed about the whole weekend and I ended up snapping at him and telling him to shut up about his dad. Obviously, I was in the wrong for snapping. After finishing the fire, I went to apologize apologize to him and let him know I was in the wrong for talking to him like that. I did, however, reaffirm that I would like it if he stopped talking about his dad so much. Later in the week, he must have mentioned something to my wife about not being allowed to mention his dad. She's now mad at me for having this discussion with him, even though I know she finds it annoying as well. In truth, I've always felt self-conscious about my wife's ex-husband, as he's a very stereotypically masculine guy, ex-Marine, and I'm the opposite. My wife's sister called me an overcorrection to my face a few months into dating. It's also frustrating to see how much my stepson idolizes his dad when he doesn't know how much his dad hurt his mom. He cheated on her, was abusive, and continued to financially abuse her post-separation. His dad has refused to have any more custody time with his son, and even when we went on our honeymoon last year, he sent his son to his mom's rather than look after him. I know how much it hurts my wife to see her son favor his dad when he does the bare minimum as a father, and damaged her so badly. Am I the jerk for suggesting he stop talking about his dad so much? Yeah, this one is a really tough spot to be in. At the end of the day, this boy is 7 years old. It's understandable for him to look up to his father as a hero, and not fully understand what he did to his mother. But it's hard to know if it's better to actually let him know now what a piece of crap his father is, or to let him find out on his own over time. Either way, I can tell you that if his father is the way you describe him, your stepson will come to understand in time how you feel, I'm sure. It may take a little bit longer to build a relationship with him. I think there still needs to be some maturing done on his side. At the end of the day, he's just a child. I understand how you feel, and I'm not going to call you a jerk, but you acknowledge that snapping was not the way to handle this and that there are better ways. I think a decision needs to be made whether he's sat down and had a conversation with about some of the reality about his father. I told my mom she'll have to stop fat shaming my son or she'll have to live elsewhere. My son Kellen, 16-year-old male, is a bigger kid and has always had self-confidence and anxiety issues like I did when I was a kid. He decided to try out for wrestling last year, and though I didn't like it, his dad was all for it, and Kellen's therapist agreed it could be good for him, and that he should do it as long as it's not affecting his mental health in a negative way. My mom can't live on her own anymore, and even though we don't have the best of relationships, my brothers are too busy for her to stay with them. So she moved in with us in January. Now, Kellen hasn't been around my mom a whole lot because of how she was when I was a kid, constantly critiquing me and my body or forcing me on diets and making comments about my weight, etc. All of which caused me to have an eating disorder. She seems to have mellowed out since then, or so I thought. At first, Kellen welcomed his grandma happily, and they seemed to get along fine, but over the last couple of weeks, he seems to have withdrawn from her. I also noticed she'd sometimes ask about his weight class, or ask him how he got such a cute boyfriend, which I didn't like, but I thought they were innocuous. Lately, I've been seeing Kellen working out way more than usual and eating less. Sunday night, I found him in his old treehouse crying, and I asked what was wrong, and he just blurted out that he thought his boyfriend was going to break up with him. Confused, since his boyfriend seems to like him a lot, I asked why he thought that, and he told me that grandma said he needed to tone up or a cute skinny boy like his boyfriend wouldn't stay with him for long. I was growing more peeved by the second. I asked what else she'd been saying, and he told me a lot of the same crap she used to say to me. I reassured him the best I could before he went to bed, and then I confronted my mom. I told her she could never talk to Kellen like that again. She got defensive, saying that she was just giving him good advice. And I reminded her about all the crap her advice had put me through and told her to either quit it or she'd have to find somewhere else to live. We haven't really talked since then, but I've been getting calls from my brothers and extended family about how could I say such a thing and threaten to put her out like that. Am I the jerk? No. I think she needed to be put in her place. She clearly doesn't understand what she did to you as a child, and she's gonna sit there and do the exact same thing to your son? Of course you're gonna try and step in. I think it's perfectly natural for you to want to try and protect him in that way. Honestly, these are all just comments she really needs to keep to herself if that's really the way that she thinks. And I have to assume, since she's living there, that she knows that he has these self-confidence issues. She really shouldn't be leaning on them like that. And as for the rest of your family calling you and giving you a hard time about it, it sounds like they just don't want you to put her out because then they'll have to be responsible for her. It seems like there might be a reason why everyone's avoiding this woman. Regardless, I don't think you've done anything wrong here. You're fully entitled to try and protect your son from that kind of toxic environment. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. That's not something that you ever need to feel bad about. Trust me, you're doing your son a favor here. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories linked at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot, linked in the description as well. Either way, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.